Emily and Caleb met their sophomore year at the University of Texas at Austin. She was sitting on a bench near the library, doodling in her notebook, some random profile. Just to stay awake between lectures. He sat down next to her, peered over her shoulder, and said, "Is that me? Are you drawing me?" She blushed to the roots of her hair and slammed the notebook shut. But it was too late. He had already seen. And he was smiling that smile of his, a little cheeky, but disarmingly honest. "I'm Caleb," he said. "And you're that girl from the art department the whole library is talking about." "I'm Emily," she stammered. "And no one talks about me. Now they will." They dated for 3 years. Happy, silly, full of promise. He said she was the light in his window. She believed him. He gave her drawings, no, not his own, he couldn't draw. He gave her stones, strange, smooth ones, that he found on the lakeshore. He'd say, "Every stone is like a day we've lived. Never the same." She kept them in a glass jar. At graduation, Caleb received an offer he couldn't refuse. A year-long internship in Singapore, followed by a contract at an international IT company. The salary, the prospects, the life they both dreamed of. "I'll be back in a year," he said, hugging her at the foot of the plane. "Will you wait?" "Always," Emily replied. She would have waited for him 10 years, if necessary. For the first 3 months, he wrote every day. Long letters about the Singapore heat, the strange food, the Australian colleagues drinking beer right at their desks. He called on weekends, his voice happy, tired, but happy. Then the calls became less frequent. At first, once every 2 weeks, then once a month. Then he wrote, "Sorry, really busy. The project is eating up all my time." Emily didn't panic. She knew he had a difficult job, was in a different time zone, and was tired. She replied, "It's fine. I'm waiting." She waited. The first year, she turned down a date a friend had set up. "I'm not available," she said. Her friend rolled her eyes. "Emily, he doesn't even call." Emily didn't listen. The second year, she was offered a promotion and a move to Dallas. She declined. "I can't leave if Caleb comes back." Her boss was surprised, but didn't argue. Someone else took her place. The third year, she turned 25. Her friends were getting married, having children, buying apartments. Emily was still sitting in Austin, going to the same job, eating at the same cafe where they once got coffee in the morning. Jenny, the saleswoman, once asked, "Where's your boyfriend? The one with the drawings?" Emily smiled, "He'll be back soon." Fourth year, she stopped telling her friends about him. They looked at her with pity. Her mother called and cried into the phone. "Emily, daughter, come to your senses. He's not coming back. You're ruining yourself." Emily was silent. What could she say? That love doesn't count in years. That she gave her word. They wouldn't understand. Fifth year. She almost didn't believe it anymore, but she still waited. Out of habit, out of love, out of that foolish hope that dies last. At night, she stroked the jar of stones he'd collected on the shore. 17 of them, one for each month of their happy life. Smooth, rough, white, grey. Like days that can never be repeated. She didn't know Caleb had been with someone else for a year. Caleb returned after 5 years and 3 months. Emily found out by chance. She saw his car outside the cafe. The same old Honda, just different license plates. Her heart skipped a beat. She ran home, changed her clothes 3 times, put on makeup, wiped it off, and put it on again. In the end, she showed up in what she was wearing. Jeans, an old t-shirt, her hair in a bun. Because Caleb loved her like that. She walked into the cafe. He was sitting at their table, by the window overlooking the lake. He ordered a black coffee without sugar. He saw her and stood up. He had matured, his shoulders were broader, his tanned face. In his eyes, the alien confidence of a man who had seen the world without her. And something else she didn't immediately recognize. Happiness. Satiety, calm, unrelated to her. "Emily," he said. "You're beautiful." She sat down across from him. Her hands were shaking. She hid them under the table. "How was the trip?" "It was a long one. I missed Austin." They talked about nothing. The weather. Work. Old friends. Caleb laughed, remembering how they stole a boat on the lake and almost drowned. Emily smiled, though her insides were clenching. She waited. Waiting for the key words. He said them as the waiter brought the second coffee. "Emily, I have to tell you something." She knew. With a woman's instinct, which is never wrong. She knew before he even opened his mouth. Maybe she'd known all year and just didn't want to admit it. "I'm getting married. Her name is Brianna. We met in Singapore. It just happened. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you." She looked at him. At the man she'd loved for 5 years. To whom she'd given the best years of her life. The one I waited for every day, every night, when other girls were dancing at parties, building careers, getting married and having children. She wanted to scream, to smash the cup over his head, to ask, what about the stones? What about, you are the light in my window? What about my 5 years that I threw at your feet? She smiled. I'm happy for you, Caleb, truly. He let out a sigh of relief. So clearly it was painful. He didn't even notice the price she had paid for that smile. He didn't notice her shaking hands. He didn't notice that she hadn't touched her coffee. We'll send you an invitation, he said. No need, Emily replied. I'll be busy. She stood up, picked up her bag, and headed for the exit. She turned around at the threshold. Caleb looked at her with bewilderment, apparently expecting tears, reproaches, hysteria, something that would justify his guilt. She didn't give him that satisfaction. Be happy, Caleb, she said and left. He was getting married a month later. The ceremony was small, in the park, under an old oak tree. Emily didn't come, but she drove by in a taxi, just to catch a glimpse. Brianna was tall, blonde, with a perfect smile. Caleb looked at her the way he once looked at Emily. Maybe even more intensely. Emily asked the taxi driver to stop, got out, and tossed an old hair tie into the trash. Caleb had once told her he loved it when she wore her hair in a ponytail. And then she left. That same evening, she packed the jar of rocks in a box, wrote, for safekeeping, on it, and shoved it into the far corner of her closet. She didn't throw them out. She couldn't. A week later, she left Austin for Dallas. New job, new apartment, new life. She forbade herself to cry. She cried at night, into her pillow, silently. A year passed. Emily had almost learned to live without Caleb. She was dating Mark, a co-worker, a quiet engineer who loved science fiction and was never late. He didn't write poetry or give her rocks, but he was there. He didn't go to Singapore. He was just there. She agreed to introduce him to her mother. She liked Mark's mother, saying he was reliable, not like your artist. Emily didn't argue. And then Caleb came back. He stood under her window in Dallas. She'd moved to a house with a front yard, in a downpour, without an umbrella, soaking wet. He screamed so loudly that the neighbors woke up. Emily, I was wrong. Brianna left. We're divorced. I realized I've only loved you my whole life. Forgive me. She looked at him from the balcony. The same Caleb, only older. With dark circles under his eyes and a pleading gaze. The one she'd waited 5 years for. The one who broke her heart and returned when it was almost mended. Mark stood next to her. Silent. Asking no questions. He knew Emily's story. She'd told it herself, the first week they'd known each other. He only asked, what do you want to do? Emily looked at him. At his calm eyes. At his hands that had never hit her or betrayed her. I want you to stay, she said. She went downstairs. Opened the door. Standing opposite Caleb in the rain. Caleb, she said. I waited for you for 5 years. You married someone else a month after you got back. You didn't even ask how I'd been living all that time. You just showed up, said, I'm getting married, and left. I wasn't even your second choice. I was a backup airfield you decided not to use. And now that your plane has crashed, you crawl back. He fell to his knees. Right into a puddle. Water gushed into his pants, but he didn't notice. I'll give it all. I love you. I've only ever loved you. Brianna was a mistake. Emily looked at him. And suddenly she realized she felt nothing. No pain, no anger. Not that immense love that had kept her waiting for years. Not even pity. She switched off. As if someone had flicked a switch. Caleb, she said softly, as if to a child. I'm getting married. In 3 months. His name is Mark. He was there when you chose someone else. He will never make me wait. Caleb froze. His face twisted in a grimace, whether of pain or disbelief. Rain poured into his eyes, mixing with tears, but he didn't even wipe them away. You can't. You loved me. I did, Emily nodded. 5 years, while you were building a life with Brianna. And then? You stopped. You know, love doesn't die overnight. It dies drop by drop. When you didn't come for Christmas. When you missed my birthday. When you stopped calling. And then that day in the cafe when you said, I'm getting married, finished it off. After that, there was nothing left. She turned and walked away, leaving him kneeling in a puddle. Emily married Mark. A quiet ceremony in Dallas, in her new friend's garden. No oak tree, no lake. No memories of the past. She wore a white dress, Mark a blue suit. They danced to a song they'd chosen together. No stones. No promises of eternity. Just a quiet, I'll be there. Sometimes at night. Emily takes out the, for safekeeping, box and sorts through the stones. Smooth, rough, white, grey. 17 of them. Like the 17 months they were happy. She didn't throw them away. And she never will. But now they're just stones. No promises. Caleb never remarried. He works for the same company, only now in London. Rumor has it he drinks. Sometimes he's found alone on a park bench with a bottle, staring into space, waiting for no one. Now he knows what that's like. Emily's mother once asked, "Don't you regret not giving him a second chance?" Emily was silent for a long time. Then she said, "A second chance is given to someone who made a mistake once. And he made a mistake every day for 5 years. I just didn't want to see it." She stroked the jar of stones, put it back in the cupboard, and went to cook dinner. Mark was waiting in the kitchen.